What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's good to see you on the Speak and See show. Today, I ask you to like, subscribe, click that notification button so that when I get information out, you can get information in. We are going to go back into the last, say, month and a half, 2 months of the EIDL grant process and progress. What I'm going to show you here is how the SBA has been handling the EIDL grants disbursements as far as week by week goes, how it started out in mid-May and how it's ending in July 15th. It's a sign of concern for those of us who have not gotten the EIDL grants, as well as some news update that we're going to be showing you, that I'm going to be showing you that has just come out in the Business Journal, as well as far as where Congress and the Senate may be heading with this EIDL grant money, being the money that's not used. Let's go into this. I would like to show you right now. Okay, so here we go. This is the targeted EIDL advance. I'm going to open that up a little bit bigger for you to watch. This is how the progress has been being made throughout the months of May up until July 15th. Now, as we notice here in May, this is the total dispersed money that has been sent up until May 13th, the total disbursements of the number of businesses that have been granted the $10,000 EIDL. Yeah, what we're going to be showing you here is how, what the progress has been looking like from May. Did it start? Did it finish? Is it getting faster? Is it getting slower? What are we to expect in the weeks to come? Here's an outlook of what's happening. So here we see the month of May, 103,782 businesses have been given their money up until now. So now I'm going to zoom out and we're going to go through this bit by bit. Here we are. From May 13th, the midweek of May, from the 13th to the 20th, there were 6,179 grants that were given out from this week. So the next week, did we get better? Yes. From the 20th to the 27th, we can see a 3 times the amount of the grants were given out from the 20th to the 27th, as per was the grants from the 13th to the 20th. So now we go further, and we saw a drop in June right here. Almost 5,000 businesses less were given the money from the 27th to the 3rd. The next week, we had 21,900. The biggest week yet was in June 10th. We had 21,000, almost 22,000 grants were given out. The week 24, they're getting better. The 29,526 grants were given out to businesses. The biggest week of them all was June 24th to July 1st. And that is the week where we had come out and we said, hey, it's going to be an amazing month. You guys get ready for it. It's going to be happening. They've gotten a lot more employees that are going to be able to help you out. So it almost doubled. If you look at the stats right there, you're looking over the last 2 weeks that were given out from June 10th to July 1st, which were 21,000 and then 29,000, which is a total of 51,000, about approximately 50,000, 50,500. Grants that were given out for these 2 weeks here. Get my face out of the way so I can show you. For these 2 weeks here, there were a lot more grants that were given out. So that's a huge week for July 1st. So we're going to go forward here. And then we take a big dive on July 8th to less than 20,000, as the week before we had almost 60,000. Now we're down to about a third of what was given out in the prior week to July 1st. So this was a huge week for EIDL grants. Now we're seeing a decline. And now this week here, from July 8th to July 15th, we see another drop, which brings us all the way back into early June, late May, as far as what they were giving out. So that is a very serious concern for how the sense of urgency that they're having and how they're dispersing these EIDL grants out. Now, this article was written at the Cleveland Business Journal on the 22nd. So here, let's take a look at this. It started off by saying SBA targeted EIDL Advance Grant Program deadline looms, but billions remain an unpopular program. Now, let's remember, we are getting close to hitting on August here. We're going into the 8th month of the year. The program ends in 4 more months. So after that, they're going to take the money and maybe go elsewhere with it. From the looks of it, from the sounds of it, that's what it's pertaining to. Let me go ahead and go into the next heading here, where the writer Andy Medici, the senior reporter of the Business Journal, says U.S. Small Business Administration still has more than $27 billion left in its targeted EIDL economic disaster loan advance grant program months after launching. And see that this bottom line here, there are $2,365,000,000 has been given out. That's not counting the last week, but so that's what he's saying, is that's where he's getting his numbers from, is right here. So we go back into the article, and he says still has more than $27 billion. So what he's saying is, yeah, there's about $27.5 billion left in its targeted EIDL advance program, even months after launching, but it only has until the end of the year to disperse the funds. Congress appropriated the funds and identified a specific deadline for eligible businesses to apply for the targeted advance. But SBA will continue accepting applications or such a time as those funds are fully allocated or the expiration of the program, said spokeswoman Christopher Hatch in an email confirming the deadline. Remember, there's the deadline here. The deadline that after this deadline, they can pretty much shut the program down. They don't need to give us any more money after that program. They've committed to, and that's what we got to worry about. Are they looking to get a surplus on here? Are they looking to say, okay, well, it doesn't take that much to give the small businesses. They don't need that much. That's kind of the idea that I'm looking at, because a surplus is always good. Now, if they go to the end of the year with still a surplus left in it, it shows that they're doing their job right. And that's not really the truth of the matter, because it's really costing a lot of small businesses a lot of concern right now. The deadline to use the funding is even more important, as it looks more and more likely there will be a considerable amount left over. After the SBA opened up the $30 billion targeted EIDL advance to small businesses, it saw a surge in disbursements, jumping from $1.6 billion to more than $2 billion in a single week from June 24th to July 1st, according to the SBA data. But since then, disbursements have only grown from $2.08 billion to $2.36 billion as of July 15th, averaging out the weekly data since May 13th. And the SBA has since been dispersing about $188 million in grants per week. If the SBA kept up that pace through the end of the year, it would disperse only another $4.5 billion, leaving $23 billion left as the program expires. So if they continue to do what they're doing, the way they're doing it, and at the pace that they're doing it on, they're going to have $23 billion left over in your EIDL grant money that maybe you weren't a part of. And that is where the mapping tool, if they keep this mapping tool in play, they know they got this surplus to spend at the end of the year, which is looking like is what they're trying to do. It's a shame. Okay. Let's go in. For the slow dispersal of grants comes even after overwhelming popularity of the original grant program in 2020. The SBA received about 10.1 million applications for the $20 billion program and only ended up approving about 5.8 million for grants, or about 3,500 per business. That's when Carranza had done the 1,000 per employee thing. So it averaged out to about 3,500, 3.5 employees per business is what they ended up dishing out with that. Even if the SBA just gave those grants recipients who did not receive the maximum $10,000 in full, that would be a total of about $37.7 billion, not to mention the 4.2 million small businesses that applied for the grant but received no money at all. Can you believe that? 4.2 million of you out there applied and didn't get nothing. Those are those who applied after July 11th of last year that didn't get nothing. It's unacceptable. Go back here. 4.2 million. And this is the part that really grinds me to the core, that the SBA is starting to spin a story and making a storyline as to why they're not getting the money, the EIDL grants, to the small businesses. And their storyline keeps getting thicker and thicker and ruining out the truth. Remember this? This is their storyline, that we are not responding due to email scams.
Actually applying for it. Investigative reporter Brian New tonight explaining what the government says is the holdup.
The SBA sent out this email to nearly 12 million eligible businesses. So do you think a lot of people, when they got that initial email, may have thought that it could have been a scam?
Oh, absolutely. 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 A lot of, that's what they're telling us.
4.2 million. But when Congress reauthorized the funding for the program in December 2020, it also had new stipulations. Small businesses must be located in a low-income area as designated through this SBA mapping tool. Isn't that right? Oh, my goodness. The mapping tool. That's where people got screwed. That's where people got screwed. And if you don't believe it, then do the map. Anyway, in order to get a grant, you had to have the mapping tool. A stipulation was not required during the initial program. That requirement has left small business owners outside of those borders frustrated, to say the least. Even if they initially received a partial grant in 2020, if you initially got the $1,000 for being a sole proprietor or one employee, or maybe $2,000 for two, yeah, it's frustrating. The large pool of unused grant money sits as members of Congress scramble to fund another COVID-19 relief programs, including the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which quickly exhausted $28.6 billion in grants, which the SBA officially closed earlier as of July, because they're getting sued for being prejudiced. That's why, and that's why they should be getting sued for being prejudiced with this prejudice map and racist. It's just ridiculous. Okay, and which the SBA officially closed earlier as in July. As of June 30th, the SBA said the RRF had received more than 278,000 eligible applications, representing a total of $72.2 billion in requested funds. So they could be taking the extra funds from the EIDL grant that they don't spend at the end of the year and putting it towards the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Is kind of the kind of roundabout story that I'm starting to see here. Meanwhile, Tammy Duckworth, a Democrat of Illinois, has proposed $30 billion for the fitness industry and has introduced legislation that would provide grants up to $25 million for gyms hardest hit by the pandemic. The hotel industry is lobbying for a dedicated grant as well, pushing Congress to pass $20 billion in grants for the hardest hit hotels, which leaves the EIDL grant surplus that they could be having at the end of the year should they keep this mapping tool in play. And it could be, go ahead and just throw the allocated money. I remember when Pence was saying last year, hey, there's still $80 billion in the CARES Act funds for the EIDL grants program. Why don't you just go get that? And the Democrats did not want to go do that. They did not want to keep on playing into the hands of Carranza getting this money and distributing it the way she wanted to. But Carranza, in a way, if you look at what she did, she gave everybody a little something until it was gone. Instead of just giving the big players, the people got in really soon, everything, to where hardly anybody got any money. So the $1,000 grant, yeah, it might not have been much, but it kind of makes sense when you look at it in the big picture. And she was sued by several attorneys. However, they couldn't prove it. So Carranza really never lost a case as far as, it was never being prejudiced against businesses. It was always just the way she did it, just throwing it out there to whoever was first and dividing the money up and boom, throwing it out to whoever was there. It wasn't about where you lived or how much you lost. It was about, we promised you this grant. We got to get you the money as soon as we can. And I've got the money, so here you go. Boom. And she throws it out there. Now, in this new administration, they seem to be, with what we saw with those targeted maps coming into play, they seem to be nitpicking who they want to give it to, as well as wanting to create a surplus at the end of the year so that they can say, hey, things really aren't that bad. And the truth of the matter is, things are really bad as far as this EIDL grant goes. And the way I'm seeing it here, ladies and gentlemen, is the only way you're going to get this money is if you literally walk outside and grab a sign, head to your state senator's office, and start protesting. That's really the only way that there's going to be any kind of reality check for our politicians. Reality check for the media. Protest, protest, protest. Get the truth out there. The truth has got to be told. Push for the small businesses, any kind of attention being drawn into this area where this money is available, but it's not being dispersed. As we saw, there was 58,000 businesses that got it one week, and then in a couple weeks later, only 13,000 get it. It makes no sense, especially when people are out there crying for it. When people are out there saying, "Hey, I need the money," it's right there. They put it out there for us in this new program, and they're not distributing it accordingly. They're making up these rules so that nobody can get it, or that so barely anybody can get it, and it's very frustrating. And to let you guys know, we are fighting for you. I know the channels like myself, Jason McElhone, are fighting hard. We are really chomping at the bit here to get you guys your money, to get the table set straight so that the SBA has to deliver it to you. But we cannot do this alone. We haven't been doing this alone. We've been doing it with you guys. We've been doing it with the help of all of the subscribers out there, all of you small business owners that have jumped in and said, yeah, I'm part of the neglected group that are being thrown to the wolves as far as my small business goes. And we're not going to let that happen. We have been fighting for this for over a year now, and we are not going to stop putting our foot down as far as the SBA is concerned. And it's now come to a point where more than money, it's about honesty and doing the right thing for the American people and getting that $10,000 promised EIDL grant. Guys, we're going to keep fighting for you. Shout out once again to Jason McElhone. Keep it up, man. We got a long road ahead of us, bro. Guys, we all got a long road ahead of us. And I want to thank you all for everything you do as far as moving forward in this. I know there was a petition put up yesterday for the mapping tool to be removed. I'll put a link to that below as well. If we can get that mapping tool removed, that would mean a lot of small businesses could get that grant as promised and get back into the game. Okay, guys? Thanks again. Like, subscribe, and somebody say, hey, I want my 10K.
Give it to me.